All right, let's do it live on a First Friday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Beau. He is the great Z in a just gorgeous lightweight hoodie. I love that thing.
Thank you. I do. Bamboo, good for as a hot day. It's going to be in the 90s.
Perfect. You know how I feel about a long sleeve bamboo.
Now it's interesting.
It's new era. I never knew that they had that in them.
I've gotten a variety of feedback, I should say, varied feedback. I personally would have preferred to be orange.
Of course.
But some people are pushing back on me like, no, it's great that it's too.
No, I would have I think the ideal breakdown of that sweatshirt, that hoodie that you're wearing, which again, it's really.
I'd love it if it was a
white. So the ideal would be white or off-white. That's the home run color. If you go white or off-white, that's the home run. Everything pops. There's a reason, like our like the all-white version of our uniform, the striping is so crisp. Everything's so crisp. It just explodes off the uniform. So the white would be ideal. The second choice would be either all in orange or all in brown, and you invert it.
That's right.
But it's still because of the fabric and the makeup and the way that the logo and everything is, it's still great.
Why isn't there every year?
It's just not that hard to do. Perfect.
Why isn't more stuff in bamboo?
I think that they're trending towards that. I do see more and more people in it.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate fabric for the heat.
Yeah. Are you like at the point right now? I mean, clearly you're a man of great expertise that you're on site. Like you looked at this and you said bamboo.
For sure. I can tell the way that it's draping on you. Well, jeez. Ball's not going to spike itself, Coach.
No. There we go.
Show a little bit of that. What a treat for everybody. No, I can tell the way it's draping. I know exactly. That thing's going to perform. That is performance fabric. I found it so interesting up here. My wife is always can't wrap her head around it, and I don't know if it's because I spend a little more time in the South, but I am constantly in a heavy sun, any sort of breeze scenario. I'm a long sleeve guy, sleeve breathable fabric. It's the coolest that you can be. That's a while that you see. Anytime you see like landscape workers
working
in
the heat,
long sleeve, you get the sun off, little breeze, air conditioner,
hat that covers the back of the neck.
That's it. But around here, everyone. Well, why aren't you wearing short sleeves? I don't need the sun to have direct contact
with me.
Why?
As a buffer.
Why do that?
And today's the day, right? Isn't it like 90 something today? Today I thought was a good day for it.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be warm today. It's breezy. Yeah, a lot of that rain we got. It's been.
When it's breezy, swing easy.
Swing easy. You got to tell that. The boys have a little golf tonight, so we'll see how.
By the way, weren't they golfing at some great track? Wasn't that yesterday that we were talking about that?
No, that was last Friday.
Last
Friday.
Oh, you sent that.
Black Coat. Yeah, when you were going to Olympia.
He was at Sharon. Sure.
Just enjoying a little Friday.
Yeah.
Jeez.
What a life.
Before he left, I just said, just soak up where you are, brother.
What did he think of it?
He was floored. I mean, even he could tell like the difference between that and normal. So, and they only have 1-9 open there.
They're doing
right
work
now because they're doing the other 9. So it's sensational. What I want to run by you. Oh, let's do this out of the gates because there was a lot of talk yesterday about a couple of the reports from Florio.
Okay.
So Florio had 2 reports yesterday, and then there was a Rappaport report that happened. That's a lot to say. A Rappaport report.
Yeah.
It's a lot going on. Okay, so there's a Rappaport report as well in regard to Deshaun Watson and where we are with all of this. And I think that we've done a really good and succinct and straightforward job. I'll pat ourselves on the back a little bit with this, of being very straightforward of where this is with all of it. And I understand also that there is a big NFL beast that needs to be fed, and so you have to sometimes have something to feed it because you want to talk about the NFL all the time. So in my opinion, I'm curious where you think about this. I think there are 2 things that have happened in the last 3 or 4 weeks in regard to the reporting around Deshaun Watson and the hearing with Sue L. Robinson that I view as important. The Wall Street Journal report going into 4th of July weekend, which was the NFL saying, this is what we would like to do. This is what we want.
Was it Jenny Vrentas?
It was in the Wall Street Journal. I don't think it was Vrentas. I think she wrote the follow-up.
She was in the Times.
Maybe. Yeah, I think it was the Wall Street Journal. It hit on a Saturday.
Okay.
And it was that the NFL wanted season-long indefinite. Now, that was coming, as we know. That was coming after the negotiations had broken down between Watson and the NFLPA and the NFL. So that, to me, was a very clear negotiating point. Let's get it out there publicly what we want in this, leading into the hearing. So I think that was important. I think the other bit of reporting that was important is the reporting from Charles Robinson from this week. where he said the NFLPA is ready to sue if it is a full season suspension. I believe, and I'm curious where you sit on this, and this we'll address the Florio stuff in a second, that everything else is speculation.
I think that everything is speculation. I do think that we are getting some insights into the direction of the arguments that were made on both sides. And in fact, Josina Anderson reported today that the NFL's post-brief was basically trying to say that, that pesky little line in the CBA that says owners will be held to a higher standard and disciplined, more harshly. That's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Which...
it's in the CBA.
It doesn't feel irrelevant.
No.
And I know that was a big part of the NFL's argument, was that he had brought shame to the league. The NFLPA said, well, yeah, so did these owners who were supposed to be punished more harshly, and they weren't punished at all. So, sorry. So the fact that that's what their argument back was after the fact doesn't feel like they've already taken it away from Deshaun almost, and they're trying now to argue, ignore this thing that's written right here. All of it is speculation. I really do wish, and I think it would be best for everybody, the league included, that whatever it is just happens.
Yeah.
Because the way that our world and our news cycle works is that will be a big deal for a brief period of time, and then you're on to the next thing. There will be training camps are opening.
Yeah.
That all the NFL news is going to be able to just kind of drown everything out. So I'd like it to happen sooner. I'm with you. I do think that the league saying that, you said is significant. I think it's significant in the sense that they were planting their flag. This is what we're going for.
Yes.
The NFLPA said it should be 0. This is what we're going for, which typically means we're going to try to get something in the middle.
Yeah.
So I think that it was all posturing. I think what I don't understand is why the NFL saying, or the NFLPA saying afterwards, if it is in fact a year, we will sue. Like, that was known. I don't know why that came out. I don't know whose side that benefits for that to have come out the way that it did. So I was curious.
I wondered if it was just like, because there, some people wonder if what would be best beneficial to everybody is if they got back to negotiate a number, and that this was the posturing on the other side of that.
Here's what I thought was significant,
I don't know.
Which is a different point but similar, is that there was conjecture that the reason Sue Robinson is taking so long to make her decision is that what she does in this case will be precedent, because this is the first time that the NFL and the NFLPA under this CBA have had this independent arbitrator. So what if the league, and to me this makes the most sense if it is potentially a good outcome for Watson rather than a bad outcome for Watson, and thus a bad outcome for the NFL, is that if she rules and says it's a 0 or 2, first of all, if the NFL then challenges that, takes it, and then gives out a harsher punishment than an independent appointed judge, they're going to get sued, and that's going to be
tear up the CBA. You can't do that.
It's not going to be good for anybody.
No, can't do it.
If she were to rule, for example, 0, that's a precedent that players are going to have on their side forever going forward in these situations with the NFL. So the thing that I found to be the most interesting and perhaps the most compelling was, look, once I rule, and maybe this explains the delays, once I rule, it's done. And that precedent is established for all further discipline going forward between players and the NFL over the conduct detrimental to league policy or the personal conduct policy. And thus, it would behoove the league and Deshaun, in this case, it sounds like it would behoove the league more to settle something, so then it does not necessarily become a precedent that has been put in place by a judge who would then write her brief as to why the decision was made that would be then utilized going forward by everybody.
Yeah.
So that settlement closes it, and that's what they always say. This closes the matter completely.
Yeah.
Boom, done. So perhaps that's why it's taking longer than anybody wants. If that is true, that would be a positive from the side of if you are wanting it to be a shorter suspension. If that's not true, I don't know why that's come out from multiple different people.
Yeah.
Now that could be one person talking to multiple different people. If that's not true, I don't know really what is significant. I think people saying, here's what I want, so that we can meet in the middle, makes sense. putting the pressure, slight public pressure here, slight public pressure there. Ultimately, it's her decision. If it is true that the decision is being delayed in the hopes that that will foster a settlement because of the word precedent, and the only reason I'm saying that word is because it's been mentioned, and that's a very specific legal term. And if you listen to some of these podcasts with the lawyers, Charles Robinson, I think, just went on one with a couple of sports lawyers. They think that is the biggest outcome that will be, regardless of what the suspension is that the precedent will now be established under this CBA, the way that it was set up to have this independent judge, that will make it tougher for things to fall outside of that in the future. And so if it is something where, hey, you guys blew it, you should have gone after Snyder and Jerry Jones and Kraft harder if you wanted to be doing this to the players, too bad. Well, then the NFL is going to feel like we've lost our ability to discipline anybody that is not involved in a criminal proceeding.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, might ultimately be the best thing.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, it might be. It might be where it is up to the criminal courts.
Leave it right
and leave it up to that. In terms of the Florio reporting yesterday, good job out of you, by the way, on that. The Florio reporting yesterday of all of this talk of reports say between 2 to 8 games on the suspension, and then this idea that the Browns are bracing for 8. Just to give you guys an idea on how stuff like this happens, or even, I mean, this was a great one from Rappaport. Like this thing was getting traction last night, and he does a great job, and he's obviously plugged in. But at one point, what got all the attention was he said, "Well, we could know in a week." Well, you could know in 2. I mean, that is so arbitrary. It could be a week. Well, could be 2 weeks. Could be 3. I mean,
you could move to Bighorn next week. You could.
It's possible. I
right.
could.
Anything when you say
like
could,
so, it's like.
It's not saying
but
anything.
then somehow it gets kind of aggregated and it gets turned into, well, we're going to find out in a week. Well, no, that's not what he said. He said it could be a week. And as for the Florio stuff, the Browns bracing for 8. The word bracing, I think, is interesting there. But the bracing for 8, the way that could happen, he could call somebody who says, "Hey, what are you guys thinking?" "Oh, we think maybe." And this isn't nothing. This is just telling you how stuff works.
Nobody here.
Nobody knows anything. But what I'm saying though is there is this notion of like, hell, we think it could be somewhere between. We think it could be as many as 8. Okay, so that could be defined as bracing for 8 if you want to frame it that way. The reports say 2 to 8. The only person who knows is Sue L. Robinson and anyone that she socializes with who she wants to talk about this case with. That's it. That's the list.
Probably not many people.
Probably not many people. This is a federal judge.
What I would say is, and by the way, bracing is, you are a fool in any situation if you are not prepared for best case scenarios,
of course,
worst case scenarios. So bracing implies that it's almost like an expectation. Yeah. Which I don't think I can tell you. I don't think there is any expectation of anything right now. I think there's hope. I think that there is, a desire, obviously, as we said, to get this thing wrapped up sooner rather than later. But I don't think anybody has an expectation. Quite frankly, for the Browns, you were seeking the knowledge so that you know how to prepare best. And I'd say the Browns probably have. This is a smart people. What are the P's, right? We're prepared. We've got a plan and a process to implement the plan. The preparation, and fourth poise, the preparation means that they have mapped out what this season looks like if Deshaun Watson's suspended for 0 games, 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 17. Yeah. They've got a path to navigate on all of those.
They're not going to be caught surprised in any scenario.
No.
0 chance.
I think that when it gets down into the legalese, which is, I think, the phase that we've entered now, because it's clear that on one level, in terms of the allegations being made against him, there is a non-criminal threshold that we've reached, right? 2 different grand juries have thrown out the criminal. So you can take that out. Nobody is alleging that there was force, violence, any of that. But there are women who clearly felt uncomfortable through their lens and experience, and there are things that, are uncomfortable. The question is, does that mean that he cannot work under the collectively bargained agreement that is there? And, it's interesting because the Browns are a company underneath an umbrella, right? There are 32 what you would almost call separate companies. The Browns, who are technically the employer of Deshaun Watson, have investigated this thoroughly themselves and are comfortable with him playing for them and working. It's their umbrella organization, the NFL, which in the weird way it's set up is that the commissioner actually works for the 32 owners, but yet the power extends over the owner's ability to say, no, for my team, this is fine. Yeah. I think there's a lot in this, and I do think everything's better off when it's cut and dry, when there are no gray areas. So, for example, you violate the substance abuse policy or you violate the performance enhancement drug policy. This is the suspension. You have, if something was criminal, either you would not be prohibited to play, but if you are charged with something while that is ongoing, perhaps that's something. The problem with that is, again, we're innocent until proven guilty in our criminal system.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it would be more like if you are convicted of something, there's that. If there is something that questions the integrity of the game, a spy gate, a deflate gate, those are different things. The gambling for Calvin Ridley. Mm-hmm. And that was, folks, as harsh a punishment as there is. The guy gambled $1,500.
That was a stunning ruling.
But that is something that is 100% expressly forbidden and compromises the integrity of the game. And that's
why they went the way they did.
Day.
Yeah, that's why they went the way that they did.
This is not, because some of the language would indicate that Watson's actions had to reach a certain threshold of force, violence, coercion, those things, which are not being alleged. The NFL saying, well, yeah, he brought some disrepute to the league. Okay, understand that's been the spotlight. It's been a lot for everybody to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But the question ultimately remains, and they put that line in the CBA about ownership. And, right now you have one of the 32 owners in the league who's subpoenaed to go before Congress, he's
on a yacht in the south of, he's in France.
And his jet went to Israel, I think.
He's not going. I mean, he's not coming back.
Right. Is he going to be at game one? Is he going to be at the home opener?
Don't know how he could. You feel like Raylan Gibbons would be ready to serve him if he was.
So he's just going to live
Marshall at the
out
ready.
of the country forever.
I have no. I mean, it's crazy. It's like a Roman Polanski situation. I don't know what the hell.
That's a wild situation that's actually happening.
It's happening right now. Yeah, it's happening. Yeah. No, I don't know.
So this is a very. I think it's a very interesting time for the league. The question becomes, how far do they want to take it? What are their abilities actually to levy any kind of a punishment? What has been the NFLPA's argument? And these are things that information about those specific points seem to be trickling out. But what does it all mean? And the only person who can answer that is Sue Robinson.
That's it.
And that's it. And again, what's tough about it is here we are, it's 120 already, almost. And we've been talking about this. And in reality, we've said a lot of nothing. But we provided some context to the things that are coming out and what the issues actually are at hand that will ultimately lead to what punishment or lack thereof is handed down. And then what that punishment being handed down ultimately means long-term for the NFL, the NFLPA, and this CBA.
That's why I wanted to have the discussion. That's why I thought it was important, is the context. The context is critical to all of this. And I saw a lot of people running with some of this stuff Florio was reporting, and all of that is just speculation. It's just speculation on people you talk to. That's all that it is. It's nothing more than that. It's not any sort there. And the reason for that is because there are no leaks. This is a vault. Sue Robinson is a vault. No one knows what she's thinking, right? Like we do it tongue in cheek about somebody having coffee with her or whatever. But like my guess is not even that. No one knows it. No. She's a federal judge. Like she's got it all under wraps. You know how you felt it went while you were in the hearing. Both sides would be able to do that, and you could articulate that.
That has been
articulated. Both sides has been articulated a lot. We've seen it a lot.
The NFL.
Correct. That's all been out there.
Yes.
And so that's where you're extrapolating those feelings, and they were just arbitrarily picking numbers that, we feel it could be this, and then it's being run with, and people are talking about it, and it's because that's what we do.
Well, by the way, this is a time of the year when there really isn't much to talk about, so it is something that still is.
And there you go.
Is something to talk about, and I think the quicker that it is eliminated, the better. That's what I think.
Couldn't agree with you more, my friend. We will go around the league. Some stuff out here. I do think the NFL is really landing the plane on a lot of these uniform alternates that we're seeing.
Oh my God, because they're just play the
well,
hits.
They're doing both though, kind of. We'll get into that.
Okay.
Armando Segura going to join us at 2:00 on the Dolphins as we continue 10 most intriguing teams. We have some more power rankings to go over. We get into all of that. AFC North preview as well, courtesy of Nick Shook. So we have that to look forward to, which is nice. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on a First Friday Miracle Edition. ESPN 850 Cleveland. nothing that evokes that more than the begging than porridge.
For sure.
Porridge, sir. That's all I need. All right, you saw the. By the way, this is what I was going to say on the uniforms and the helmets. It feels like everybody's kind of in order on this. Although I have not seen a Broncos one, and I haven't seen a creamsicle.
I'd like to see that, and I would like to see that. Yes and yes.
It feels like everybody else is that you want to see. Is there anybody else we haven't seen?
I didn't even know I wanted the Black Panther helmet, and now I love it.
So that was going to be my point. That's where I was going to go with this. So the Giants dropped their 80s Giants today, which you're not going to be happy with me, but I actually think that the Manning Giant, I prefer that one where the helmet matches the uniform with the NY. I like that look.
And it was a great blue. It was a great blue. This is, again, we're back to two blues that have no business being together, that are together for some unknown reason, but it's
a navy lid and a royal jersey. It just seems,
it's still nostalgia.
It's the most powerful emotion, right?
Sure.
Because it evokes LT. I mean, that's what we think when we see it. We think I see LT right away in that uniform. But the way that they dropped it was so cool because they have LT throwing the jersey to Saquon. So it's a home run.
Yeah.
It feels like they're doing a heck of a job of landing the plane and balancing between the teams that have great nostalgia playing that card and the teams that don't, kind of giving their fans what they want. Like we've seen this black helmet in Carolina. Well, but aren't the Falcons? They're wearing the red one.
They've got a red lid, which is good, but they should only be wearing those and the Jeff Georges. They should wear Steve Bartkowski's.
Yes, of course.
And the Jeff Georges. Gerald Riggs and the Jeff George.
Agreed.
/ Dion.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
I agree.
That's all you need.
No, but I mean, like, they're alternate. They are bringing the red helmet back. So
Fine.
that's a win. So they land the plane on that. The only one that's kind of weird is the Texans, but I would have preferred white. You like red, it's fine. I'm not going to quibble with it. There's not a whole lot they can do other than
they're getting
get their light blue back. Yeah.
They're getting,
they got jobbed.
And if not, then the Titans need to wear like a Nashville Oilers uni like they did with Chris Johnson. They had them for a while.
Eddie George wore those.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wore those uniforms in 95, the 96 season. I don't have – yeah, that's just absurd that they were able to keep a color. Honestly, if I were Houston, I would just use a different light blue.
Right, use Carolina blue. Nobody's going to notice.
No one's going to know this difference. If you're on that colored thing, you're not going to – you go to a
Give me the
Williams,
one next
you can't
to
tell
it,
the
right or
difference.
left of it.
Yeah.
Right next
Either
to
way,
it.
give me that.
If
Sold.
that's number 232, give me 231.
Done.
Or
That's easy.
I don't care.
We don't have anything that I know of.
No.
Not that I know of.
No.
In terms of a second shell, we don't know anything about that. Do we know if the 75s are coming back? I see we're still selling them.
I believe so.
Okay, because at one point there was a talk that was just kind of a one-year deal.
I think that's our alternate.
They're now in it.
I think.
They're gorgeous.
Where's Brad Melland? Give it.
We saw him yesterday. He was sneaking around.
Stevie, get Melland.
Oh, yes, we have a Stevie now.
Stevie, go get Melland.
Stevie, go get Melland. Figure out if we're wearing a white helmet. Yeah. Get it sorted out.
That I don't think we are doing. I do think we should do it. I think we should do it. I would love to see it, maybe next year or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that should be a part of our look, and it should only be worn with the 75th.
Exactly. Only in that look. Only like the look that Otto wore. Like
the 75th can be worn with any lid, but the white lid can only be worn.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I still have again Bucks. Have we seen Seahawks? Are they wearing the silvers, the Largents?
A little. The original Kurt Warner,
little
Dave
running back,
a little Dave Craig, small hands,
Kenny
fumbled
Eason.
the ball a lot. Yeah.
He did cough it up a lot. Small hands.
Wasn't it Brian Blades? Maybe was there a
Brian Blades was in the mix there for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You're seeing a little of that kicking around.
I'd love that coming back for a.
Oh, I think it would look gorgeous.
Yeah, their uniforms were so cool, but they are now relics.
So they're the same situation that the Broncos are in, that the Patriots are in, where their new uniform has all the success, and the old uniform, which was obviously better, did not, and so you're stuck in the new uniform a little bit.
The old one was also a little. It was, if you really get down to it, it was like kind of an odd combination of colors.
The Seahawks original? Yeah, like Kelly green and royal blue and silver.
With silver, right? Which
that's not a color scheme you see very often. Red and blue usually stand on the lone. Neither one. They're usually the primary color of a uniform, and then they're almost never the secondary.
Yeah,
they're not trim
but
color.
But then when they came with this one, it was awesome. They were the best uniforms in the game for a while.
For sure. Yeah, it was the first time that Nike really landed the plane on a brand.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah, and it also makes sense with like Seattle. I mean, the colors, it fits Seattle. That city kind of all has the same color scheme for their teams.
Yeah.
So that works too.
So for the Niners, from a Niners perspective, like they already are in their classics. You know, the Raiders are already in their classics. Now, could you go with the AFL, like slightly different helmet for the Raiders that has kind of the white
that
around
one's cool.
the Pirates?
Yeah.
Awesome. That would be great.
I would like the Niners to wear the helmet that DeBartolo was going to wear.
No way, that was awful.
How long did it? I didn't even know people are aware that this
Didn't even make it to the season.
No, I knew that. I knew they never wore
like
it.
a week.
But it was a big deal. They launched it. It was a big enough deal that in those days, the way that I got my sports information was from Sports Illustrated, and it was a big enough deal that it was around long enough that it was in SI.
Yeah,
it was like this is going to be the
Niners with like
right.
Terrible, awful.
It was
like
a big deal.
You have a perfect helmet.
Right.
You have a perfect uniform. They had nasty colors for a while, and they brought it back to the original Joe's. Perfect.
They're perfect. Yeah. They had but yeah, it had that, and then they never wore it.
So for them, though, if there was one Niners one, and they do bring it back, I think at times, right? The one that's the 1994 season with the shadow box.
That's unbelievable.
That's
with
a
the white pant.
They wear that. See, I would like to see a variation of that with the white pant. Hear me out now. The white jersey, white pant with a white lid with just the SF in red.
You know I'm going to be for that. I mean, you know I'm going to be sold on.
And that would never look like a Niners uniform, but it would be sweet.
It'd be sweet. That's a strong look.
I wonder if you'd go with it. Would you go with a red face mask on that white lid?
I think because it's a retro. I feel like you go gray
or gray,
probably gray because it's a callback to like uniform they wore in the 50s, right? The drop shadow letter. Yeah. So my hunch is you go gray, but that's gorgeous. That was when Dion wore it, and
Dion wore it. Yeah.
No one's ever looked cooler in a uniform than him the one year in '94 with the Niners.
He had his like bands around his wrists and on his
He'd wear the big
elbows
baggy long sleeve shirts.
Tightened up right here.
Bandanas. He had a bandana.
Bandana.
Can you even wear bandanas anymore? I never see
now
anybody wear them.
I think now they have those like skull caps. Yeah.
The bandana's cooler.
Oh,
it's cooler.
It was an electric bandana.
Yeah, it was. We were having the discussion. I was having the discussion this morning. We were doing like interesting programs in the country, and we were talking about Florida State and landing on the coolest player to ever play there. And of course, it was Dion. And then I said, "Is he also like the coolest football player ever?"
Dion?
Yeah. He's on the Mount Rushmore.
Okay, but how much do you dock him for? Must be the money. That's all that it could be. Must be the money. I mean, that is.
It's awful.
Awful.
It's dreadful.
The song is dreadful. The video is.
It's bad.
A debacle.
It's bad.
So that's a dock.
Dock him a little bit, but there's so much in the win column.
Off the top of my head, when you said that, he would be on there. I mean, for me, Randy Moss immediately comes to mind.
Randy Moss. Yeah.
Coolest?
Yeah, coolest.
I mean, I'm just going off what's like literally floating right into my brain.
Yeah, I mean, I give you it's not in the show prep.
Chucky Wood.
Yeah.
Chucky was pretty cool.
He was.
And he's pretty good. And when he was in the silver and black, he looked great.
Yeah, that was crazy looking.
He looked great. And then he goes, obviously finishes, gets Super Bowl with the Packers.
Yeah.
Chucky, and he's just kind of a cool dude, like in person.
Yeah, there's a charisma.
If he went to the doctor, they'd diagnose OCD. One cool dude. Yeah.
Can Barry Sanders be?
I don't know if there's enough personality.
Or is there just not enough personality to it?
I don't know if there's enough personality.
Yeah.
Like Jerry Rice is one of the great. Like there's just not.
Like he was a nemesis of ours, but I always thought Kevin Green was pretty cool with the blonde hair flowing out.
Palomalu was.
Yeah.
Palomalu was cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're.
Vic was pretty damn cool.
Peak.
Previous.
Yeah.
Prior to
the Nike commercial with Vic and T.O. is one of the greatest football commercials ever.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Irvin's maybe in the conversation.
Michael Irvin was really cool. Yeah, he was. He's a cool customer.
They need to bring. I know that they need to somehow redo the. I mean, look. Let's face it. It was a flash in the pan, cool. But Brian Bosworth was as cool as anybody.
And so was Bo Jackson.
And so was Bo at the same time. And then Bo trucked him, and that was
Bo
it.
ended Brian, and that was the end of it.
That was it.
That was it. Yeah. Jim McMahon was pretty cool. In a very, very short window, he had a little bit of juice to him.
He did.
Very short window.
But I feel like I was gonna say he's kind of like Don Majkowski, the Magic Man,
he wasn't as good as Majkowski.
He wasn't even as good as he won the Super Bowl.
No, he just was real chesty and really, kind of carried all that stuff. I mean, honestly, like I always thought, like, I would always watch, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, because you're a buddy of mine, but I truly think, like, Joe, there was a time where it felt like, what doesn't, like, beautiful wife, beautiful family, had great hair. He always feels like
What
a dude.
was his nickname?
Joe Cool.
Cool.
Yeah, he was. He's pretty cool.
Yeah, of course he was.
He was pretty cool. Ronnie Lott.
And by the way, a lot of people are right now being like, "Oh, Steve Young should be on that list." Says nobody.
Says nobody. No,
Right.
no, you're not getting that. That's not it.
Go right on out of town.
All
Right
right.
here. I got to go for my buddy Eric Hurwitz, said Broadway Joe.
Well, the ultimate original.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. That's. You go look at the
Cut
resume
the
on that.
right there.
Yeah, you cut the timeline. Yeah, that you go do the
peak Broadway.
Like him and like Kenny the Snake Stabler. Like there were some dudes.
The Snake was also pretty
in
cool.
the 60s and 70s. I've interviewed both of those guys. The Snake was everything you'd want him to be, just everything you wanted him to be. The Kenny Stabler is amazing. Yeah, there's some good ones. There's some good ones out there. So the Giants will wear these uniforms. They'll wear them twice. They'll wear them against the Bears.
For the record, I'm excited.
By the way,
you
can't wear them against the Commanders because they're not the Redskins.
They should be wearing them
that's
against
stupid.
They should be
the
wearing
Cowboys.
The Cowboys.
Yes, the Cowboys and the Eagles is what they should wear them, or Bears.
I'll tell you who they should wear them against. They should wear them against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And then if they play the Niners, they should wear them against the Niners.
Yeah.
And they should have Jim Burt or whatever come out and fire up the crowd.
There
if he's still with us.
He's still with us. It was like
when he killed Joe, I was devastated.
Devastated. Yeah. It was the Niners were kind of the constant, but it was like the Giants would be there for a little bit. I mean, the Bears and then the Giants and then like the Redskins and then the Cowboys, but the 49ers were there that whole stretch. They were always in the mix.
They were elite.
Yeah, they were. All right, I'm sure we'll get some good people that we're forgetting on this. I just threw that on you without any sort of warning, and yet you still crushed it. We'll do Goose. Yeah. We will do the training camp preview continuing next. We'll hit the linebacker position. It's pretty loaded up. It is pretty loaded up here in the last couple of years. We'll get you some of the big question marks that are in that position. They're more just questions in terms of roles more than anything else. I think it's pretty well set in stone. We'll get to that coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Bath Authority gives you the bathroom of your dreams. They can do it for you in about a day. You transform that current bathroom you have into a spa-like experience. Let the Bath Authority make it a reality for you at a fraction of the cost of the competitors. The Bath Authority is our area's premier bath and shower remodeler, expert factory-trained installers. Call now for $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. The number is 216-220-8399 or go to thebathauthority.com. It's where affordability meets quality. The largest selection of bath projects. They're all made in the United States. You can change your bathroom from outdated to outstanding in about a day. Superior products with expert installers at the Bath Authority, 216-220-8399 on that. Our training camp preview now centers on the linebacker position. We good here, buddy?
I really think we are, and it's funny. I was reading something. I think it may have even been Nick Shook who will read what he had to say. That was just like the linebacker
all we've
core
done for him.
Look, the fact of the matter is the Browns are going to play with 2 linebackers on the field more often than they're going to play with 3. And so when you have a top 4 like this, I think it's pretty good. The defense is designed to be elite on the edges and elite in the secondary and have good players at linebacker. And I think they've got that. You got Anthony Walker Jr. back. Last year, led the Browns 113 tackles in 13 games, played more snaps than any other linebacker with 701. Guy who's averaging 109 tackles per year the last 4 seasons. He had 2 pass breakups, 2 tackles for loss, and a sack. Great leader. And here's the thing. He was the number 3 coverage linebacker according to Pro Football Focus last year. So big strides for him there. We know Jason Tarver, the linebacker coach, who we love, absolutely loves him. Great leader, incredible work ethic. And now he's going to be a little bit, not in a battle, but I do think he's competing for playing time with Jacob Phillips, who was our 3rd-round pick out of LSU in 2020. Jacob Phillips is a guy who every time he is available, he plays very well. The big question for Jacob Phillips is his availability. And can he stay healthy to play? Because that is what it is. The fact of the matter is he played last year in only 4 games, 123 snaps. He starts in Week 18, 8 tackles, a sack, a pass breakup. You could see him everywhere on the field. 2 years ago, Week 17 it was, to get into the playoffs at home against Steelers. He starts, leads the team with 10 tackles, playing Mike linebacker as a rookie. So he's got the skills. He's got he's long, he's fast, he's tall. He's a guy who just makes plays whenever he gets an opportunity, and he's been working with the first team quite a bit here in the offseason. Can he stay healthy? So those 2 are kind of looking at a little competition for the mic. Then you got JOK. JOK is an absolute stud. Browns' 2nd-round pick from Notre Dame last year. 3rd highest graded defender at Pro Football Focus on the Browns, behind only Miles and Denzel. 5th highest graded rookie defender. 6th best graded linebacker overall in the league last year was JOK. 76 tackles, 4 passes defensed, 1.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 3 tackles for loss, and 597 snaps. An absolute star in the making. He's got the speed. I think that by the end of this year, would it surprise me at all if he's a Pro Bowler? Not one little bit. I think JOK he's got that kind of talent and that kind of ability, and so he's an opportunity. He's going to play. If he's healthy, he's playing every down.
He's got a chance to be like a superstar.
Yes,
I mean that's
precisely
what he can be. And a year 2 in this offense, it's hard to imagine him not, like when we talk a lot about Delpit as a breakout. I don't even know if JOK can be a breakout because it feels like he's already broken out, but even more so.
Totally.
Like they feel like sky's the limit.
Yes, 100%. So that's kind of your 2 mic competition, JOK in the will position. And when you're in passing situations, my guess is it'll be Phillips and JOK. Now, Anthony Walker Jr., again, he played very well in those situations. So he's going to be hard you can't just write him off. And I'm not.
No.
I think he's a leader on this team. I think he's a great player. So when we get into our base defense, which would be the traditional base, because our base defense now is really our nickel or even our dime at times, Sione Takitaki comes in. Big friend of the program. Physical run-stopping linebacker last year in 285 snaps, 44 tackles, career-high 5 tackles for loss, forced fumble recovery. Also a core special teams player, former 3rd-round pick of this team who just loves contact. So that's kind of your big 4 as I see it at the linebacker position. Beyond those guys, who's in the mix to try to make this football team? There are 4 names probably for 1 or 2 spots. Tony Fields, who was our 5th-round pick out of West Virginia a year ago, appeared in 10 games on special teams, didn't take a defensive snap, a smaller linebacker, sideline to sideline, a guy who can play the pass, play the run, good tackling machine, and he's somebody who's been in the program for 2 years. The Browns also brought in this offseason Dakota Allen, who's a 3-year veteran who spent time with both the Jags and the Raiders in his career. The last 2 years with the Jags, 32 career games, 3 starts, 28 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 3 tackles for loss. Last year was a special team standout for the Jags. Played basically the whole year on special teams. That's probably his path to making this roster. Willie Harvey, who was a former undrafted free agent who was with the Browns back in 2019, active for a few games that year, had 1 tackle, appeared in 2 games with the Browns in 2021 on special teams. Again, been around the building. They obviously like him. Keeps getting opportunities, so we'll see if Willie Harvey can turn this into a more permanent gig. And then there's Silas Kelly, who was our undrafted free agent rookie this year from Coastal Carolina. First team All Sun Belt Conference in 2021, 340 career tackles in college, and tremendous hair. But we've got 4 guys who I think are definitely on this team. The spot opens up, the trade of Mac Wilson for Chase Winovich this offseason. And so Tony Fields, this is your opportunity. Dakota Allen, a veteran who's been a good special teams guy, could be like the Elijah Lee of a year ago. And I would imagine that if things aren't going the way that the Browns want with some of these young guys, Malcolm Smith is still on standby, who played very well and has played very well for the Browns each of the last 2 seasons.
How many of these guys, all said and done, make the final?
5 or 6.
5 or 6, yeah.
You might have 5 and 1 on the practice
and you have
squad,
4
or
locks.
6. You have 4 locks.
4 locks. So you're 1 or 2 for the, and then that's kind of the way that it sorts out.
But I think it's a solid position group.
Let me ask you this too, because the way that we're going to play with we've talked a lot about this in the last couple of years, and we saw it last year as the season went along. From an interchangeable parts standpoint, the league is almost becoming. You think about JOK, body type wise, he's not. In fact, he's shorter than Delpit, but I mean, he's from a body type wise, it's pretty similar. Like you're basically just looking for a bunch of those type of guys in the middle, and we have those type of guys in spades. Sione's the only one from a body type standpoint that would have like that big size to him. Jacob does too. But I guess my point is like when you have Delpit, if you go with Delpit, Harrison, and Johnson sometimes on the field at the same time with JOK and the dime, that's 4 guys who can kind of all do a lot of the same stuff.
Absolutely. They can run with anybody. They can cover tight ends. They can cover out of the slot if they need to. They can all blitz. They're all effective blitzers. They can play the run. It gives you a great amount of I would say, versatility and an ability to disguise, as we've talked about, in terms of who's going to be doing what on any given snap. And so that obviously that's a good thing.
I was just thinking, like, at some point, you wonder what teams in the league could still battering ram you, because we did D tackles and now we're doing linebackers, and it's really just the Colts and the Titans, right? Are kind of the only two.
Line up and
AFC,
smash you. Colts, Titans.
The Niners can, but that's an NFC.
The thing about it is, and we play well against the zone teams, but that's a zone team, so we have the speed to run with those guys. The way that the Ravens attack you is different, although they do have Patrick Ricard, and he kind of is a battering ram. But we've done a good job.
We can run with them, yeah.
Right. And by the way, in the NFL, it does make sense to. You're fine with teams running. If you limit chunk plays, you're fine with it, because eventually you're going to get one where somebody misses a block or your player makes a play, and then all of a sudden they're in 3rd and long, and then now that's what our defense is supposed to be. So I don't think teams are as worried about that as much as, if you said, okay, man, we can't cover, then I think you're in big trouble. If you can't cover, you can't play defense in the league.
Yeah, there just aren't that. Yeah, there's no question. It's where the league has gone, and I actually feel really good about this group, and I think as good as JOK was last year, it's just buckle in, kids. There's going to be even more of it. I also like that he's stuck with 28.
Yep,
I like that. I think that's a cool number on him. Hey, did you see? Apparently, there's a new trailer for the Game of Thrones thing coming.
Let's go. I'm into it. We were talking earlier. Mr. Axelrod was saying that he had a little fear, and I said, "Fear not, baby. You're safe, baby doll. We're going right in there." George R.R., he's already written everything out for us. The story's going to be tight. It's going to be good. That's what happened. Game of Thrones got past the written word. George R.R., I really point the finger at you, sir. Write it.
Finish it out.
You knew where you were going with this. Let's finish it out. This can't happen this time. We are absolutely in a completely produced source material world. We're safe.
This is
beautiful.
Here's the only thing that this is my
dragons.
Yeah, I'm for all that. I just think in general, once I know the end game, it's hard for me to be as invested in a prequel. Since I know where we're going, I'm not going to be as invested in it. Part of the beauty of Thrones is
have you read all of it?
No, but I know what happens.
Generally speaking,
200 years later, I know what happens.
Sure.
So it's like, how invested am I going to be in a story that I already know what's coming after it? In general, I'm that way, though. It's hard for me. Prequel stuff is hard for me when I already know what's going at the end. It just is. Like, even like that happened with like some of the Star Wars stuff. I didn't find that as like,
well, they just weren't as good.
Well, they suck too. But I mean, I found that even with like Vader, like going back and like,
but 3 was a good one.
The way Vader versus the way I do, or did
right
at the time.
I think it's gonna
prequel
be
stuff.
great.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be
I mean, my
fantastic.
guess is they've waited a long time on it.
It's gonna be.
I mean,
Fantastic.
all of the momentum around that series from a few years ago, gone. It's all gone. So if they would have been ready, ideally you have this thing ready to launch like within a year of the series ending,
Yeah.
and instead they waited a couple years. So they're going to have to. I think in a way they're going to have to start from scratch. I don't think this will be a huge audience right out of the gates. I don't.
I think we're. I mean, I'm in.
I'm in too.
Everybody I've talked to about it that was a Game of Thrones watcher, like I've had a bunch of people already say, "We got to watch this. We got to watch this. We got to watch this."
Yeah, I know.
Do a
I think
watch
we.
party.
I think
it's gonna be big.
I hope so. I hope so, and I hope it's. It looks like it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And I think the guy who was in what's that? The Netflix show, The Crown. He was like the prince. Who's the Elizabeth's husband?
In The Crown.
Yeah, he's the main guy in this.
Oh.
Yeah, the original husband for Elizabeth in The Crown is the main guy in this Thrones.
Oh, let me take a look at the cast list. All right.
What's his name? All I can say is Prince William, but what's his name?
I don't remember. I was always focused on Tobias Menzies, who's already been in.
He was the later.
He was the later. Yeah.
He's the later guy. It's the earlier Matt Smith, maybe. Is that his name?
The Crown cast.
I feel like his name could be Matt Smith.
A Matt Smith.
I feel like that's it.
Give me some photos of these people, would you?
I'm pretty sure he's the main Targaryen guy.
Okay. Matt Smith, yeah. There's a Matt Smith in there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it. That's it. That's the guy.
Sure.
Yeah, he's the heavy. He
Yeah.
played Prince Philip.
Give me a
in The
Tobias
Crown.
Menzies, though. What a guy.
He was already in the mix.
I know. He's already been in the mix.
He's in Rome too.
He's so good.
Do you know he is
He's
in Rome?
He's an Outlander. He is the bad in Outlander.
Okay. Well,
As bad as it gets.
I don't know. I may have a trump card for you because he's Brutus in Rome.
Oh, A2 Brute.
Exactly. Armando Salguero up next as we continue with the 10 most intriguing teams for 2022. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Rumpke Waste Recycling, family owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, you'll become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. As we continue with 10 most intriguing teams of 2022, we center on the Miami Dolphins, and we talk about the Dolphins. We head to Miami, and we talk to our great friend of the program, Armando Salguero, NFL reporter at Outkick. And typically, when we have a conversation, it seems like the last few times I had a conversation with you, we are in the dead of winter, and you're like sipping some sort of cocktail in a pool.
Yeah, that's right.
So what do you got for us today, buddy?
Yeah, not the pool day today, guys. Honestly, if I were to look outside at my pool, the water's boiling, and so I'm staying in the AC. I'm doing the smart stuff.
Armando, we'll talk. We got a lot we can get to with you, obviously, from an NFL standpoint. But let's start with the Dolphins and the reason that they are on our list of 10 most intriguing teams. It feels like they have everything except, obviously, depending on your belief, in Tua at quarterback. What is your belief in Tua at quarterback, and is it different from the Dolphins organization's belief in Tua at quarterback?
Yeah, honestly, another way to put it is they have everything except the thing. And the thing is whether Tua Tagovailoa is elite or not. As of right now, he hasn't been. He hasn't suggested that he's going to be. Now, the Dolphins believe in him. They believe that he can be good enough and maybe even better than that. But look, the proof is in the pudding. And from what I've seen, unless Tua comes back from the offseason at 6'2" or 3, he's 6 foot, and maybe 225 pounds, he's 217. Maybe he grew a much stronger arm, he didn't. Then, honestly, when things get heavy and hectic, and the Dolphins are behind, which tends to happen a lot, and he has to step up and be the hero. I don't think that's going to be a great moment for Tua. So we will see. I mean, it's all a matter of can they get a running game together that supports him. But again, what are we talking about? Him being not the guy, but one of the guys. And he's playing in a division where Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills is undoubtedly a guy. So that's the problem for the Dolphins right now.
Oh, you're exactly right. And I mean, we were talking yesterday that if you take, guys who a lot of people would consider to be, let's say, a consensus top 10 quarterback in the league, plop them on this roster, it's hard for me to think of the Dolphins being anything other than, if not the Super Bowl favorite, certainly a Super Bowl favorite. And so there is a lot of pressure on him. Now, they brought in what they consider to be an offensive genius and a guy who was a wide receiver coach that I got to know in his time with the Browns back in 2014 on Kyle Shanahan's staff, Mike McDaniel. Give us your initial impressions of Mike McDaniel and what he is going to bring to this organization, to this offense, and really just to this football team.
Yeah, Mike is an interesting dude.
Yes,
He's different.
Is. Yeah,
he's
quite.
Definitely wired different, right? I mean, the first time that I met him, he spent 10 minutes talking about my glasses, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
this is not. I've had conversations with Don Shula and Jimmy Johnson and Bill Parcells, and they never really mentioned my glasses. But whatever. And so he is a different kind of guy, and that's not necessarily bad. Here's what, from a football context, is interesting to me. He comes from a system and brings with him a system that is going to be primarily a run-first type of system, bully the defense, get them down, get them on their heels, and kind of then throw off that with play action and RPO and so forth. Interesting in that that's what you do when your quarterback's not a star. Interesting in that the NFL is a passing league, and they're going to be run first. So maybe it works. maybe it pays major dividends, but it is not exactly the offense du jour in the NFL right now. That's not the approach that most teams are taking.
You're right, and it's an offense that I think is adaptable to the quality of its quarterback. I mean, it's kind of a variation of what McVay does. They had Goff, and so they were more on the run with Gurley. You get Stafford in, they're able to throw it all over the yard. And you even think about, when Kyle was in Atlanta with Matt Ryan, he wins the MVP of the league that year in this style. And so my question is, you talk about that is the notion, and that is really the notion because of Tua, quite frankly. And yet this team drafted Waddle in the first round last year, traded for Tyreek Hill, signed Cedric Wilson, and they franchised Mike Gesicki. Those are 4 guys who want the football to come to them via the pass. How are they going to keep those guys happy? That's number one. And number two, is this a situation, and I reference, Goff and Stafford on purpose there, that this feels like the team that is the next ready-made team to say, let's drop a quarterback in here and let's go win a championship.
That's 100% correct. And because if Tua doesn't perform in year 3 under the new head coach with the very much improved roster, there's not going to be a year 4 where he's starter and we'll see what happens. That's not going to happen. You already know, and I've confirmed through various sources, that the Dolphins this offseason and last offseason tried to get Tom Brady to come to Miami.
Yep.
And I'm not saying he's going to do that after this season. I'm not saying that, by the way, that Sean Payton, who they also tried to hire, is going to come to Miami after this season. But this is a roster and a team, sans the quarterback position, that is made for playoff and postseason and maybe even championship expectations. And the one or two things that would keep them from that is the star quarterback. And the owner, Stephen Ross, has already had a history of chasing a star quarterback to no avail, but that doesn't mean he stops.
Yep.
And so that's the warning that Tua Tagovailoa and to a lesser degree Mike McDaniel have to live with this year.
How do you think Mike McDaniel handles all of this? I mean, Tyreek Hill's got a lot to say recently. I don't remember him being quite so talkative. He was in Kansas City. He's had a lot to say this offseason. You have this Brady cloud looming, the Sean Payton stuff, all that stuff. I mean, he reads all this. He's a smart guy. He sees it all. Just your read on him being able to navigate this.
I don't think he's all that concerned about it because, frankly, there's not a whole lot he could do about it. The only thing that he can answer with is wins and losses, and if he's got enough of the former to overcome the latter, then Sean Payton's shadow won't matter, Tom Brady possibilities won't matter, and what everybody else thinks or says won't matter. What matters is, can Mike McDaniel keep that roster? You mentioned all the guys that want the football. Can he keep them all in line? If Tua is not exactly the Patrick Mahomes type that Tyreek Hill seems to think
he's
he's
got a stronger arm. I mean, how can it go wrong?
Stronger, more accurate. I mean,
yeah,
really,
really.
Tyreek?
Yeah.
It's Robo QB.
I don't know.
Impressive.
But, it's interesting because teams that accomplish and have accomplished and have guys, they don't need to talk up their guys.
Yeah.
We know. There's no one in Buffalo saying, oh, Josh Allen's really good. You know why? Because everybody knows.
Right.
It's like, no kidding. Kansas City's not going, hey, no, we got to defend our guy Patrick Mahomes. No. Patrick Mahomes has his body of work defends him quite well, thank you very much. And so when you're talking up your guy, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, certainly. You had mentioned the Brady, and I remember at the Combine, like we started to get all this whispers about Brady there and Peyton and all of that stuff. How close, Armando, do you think that puzzle was ever got to being put all the way together?
I talked to an assistant coach that Sean Payton reached out to, and he was already shopping for living arrangements in South Florida. to come with Sean Payton.
Wow. What it was the roadblock? Just the Bucs? Just an unwillingness to move off of Brady? Is that what stopped it?
No, the roadblock was the suit filed by Brian Flores, the former head coach, alleging racial discrimination and, oh, by the way, integrity of the game issues against Stephen Ross. I mean, Brian Flores, that lawsuit alleges that in 2019, Brian Flores' first year as the head coach of the Dolphins, that Stephen Ross offered him $100,000 if he would lose games, $100,000 per loss, so that the Dolphins could then, in the 2020 draft, have the best pick to pick the best quarterback. They didn't. And Joe Burrow went to Cincinnati, and Cincinnati went to the Super Bowl last year, and the Dolphins got Tua. What's interesting in that is they got Tua number 5. Justin Herbert went number 6.
Yes.
They'd be Super Bowl favorites.
You think they'd like that back?
Yeah. I think everybody who picked would rather
would
Justin
go that
Herbert.
way, yeah.
He looks pretty good there.
It's amazing, like how close that was all there. It's really remarkable.
It's an incredible what if, and certainly for this team here. Just wanted to kind of transition off the Dolphins a little bit. I think we all know the stakes. It's a great roster. We'll see what happens with Tua there. And you got some of our guys that we like there: Raheem Mostert, Emmanuel Ogbah, Sheldrick Redwine, as I'm looking, 5-star Porter Augustin, some former Browns. So that'll be fun with those guys. But just wanted to ask you about Jacoby Brissett, who did spend some time with the Dolphins last year and has already made a very good impression here. Obviously a very well-liked and respected guy. If in the event, and we all know it's out there, the looming punishment for Deshaun Watson, if Jacoby's got to come in and play a couple of games, what are the Browns getting? And with a strong roster around him, can he get the job done?
They're getting a great leader, a guy who's going to do the work. He's a professional and a consummate professional. He knows what the position entails. He knows what the assignment is going to be, and he knows, his flaws and his strengths. Yep. And I think he's going to try the best that he can to play to those. Last year, not so great with the Dolphins. I think he completed like 62% of the passes that he attempted with, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. But it wasn't a great situation either, in that the team started out, I think, 0-7 or 0-8. And yes, he was part of that. But under different circumstances with a better roster around him, I think as a backup, he's fine. He's probably, top third percentile of backups in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
Now, if he has to be your starter the entire season, if that suspension looming goes the entire year, I'm not loving that prospect.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you think, Armando, and I have no idea if it's even feasible, but as we were discussing all of this with Tua and this ready-made roster with Miami, would they kick the tires on Garoppolo at all if this didn't feel right the first month of camp? Or do you think that's something that wouldn't happen this year?
I mean, McDaniel knows him.
That's what yeah, a lot of connections.
Sure. Right. The problem there is, number one, Jimmy is, not going to be really ready to compete, really, until mid to late August. And yes, he would know the system in Miami, but how much better? Again, the Dolphins need an elite quarterback.
Sure.
They are, I can't stress this enough, they are in a division with a top 3 quarterback. And you don't fight that fire with the garden hose of Jimmy Garoppolo, who solid, okay, but is he elite? There's a reason that the San Francisco 49ers paid a premium to go and get Trey Lance, is because they saw upside in Trey Lance that they did not see in Jimmy Garoppolo after years of knowing Jimmy Garoppolo and him helping them get to a Super Bowl. So they saw his shortcomings, and they're more than eager to trade him away if they can.
Well, I'll get you out of here on this, and just because I know he's listening. What would our mutual friend and in the prime of his career, Bernie Kosar, do in this system with this type of weaponry?
Jimmy, look, guys, Bernie Kosar was a stud at the University of Miami. He was a stud for the Cleveland Browns.
Fine human.
He would be a stud in the NFL today. Weird, funky delivery, motion, not mobile, smart as anything, and an awesome, awesome person and leader. Just the best.
And probably the coolest press conference of a college football player has ever had. What he showed up to that press conference in Miami to say he was going in the supplemental draft. That was probably as cool as I've ever seen anyone dress for a press conference, Armando.
Bernard.
With that cutoff shirt?
Yes.
And the
Aviators, short shorts. Yep. Nailed it.
Legend.
So are you.
1980s Miami. That's what that was all about.
That's right, my friend. Great talking to you, buddy.
All right, guys. My pleasure.
The great Armando Salguero joining us there on the hotline. That's great.
Awesome.
That is great. I love the fact that we're within 12 seconds of starting the interview. Bernie's texting all of us.
Yep.
In a
group.
thread. Yeah, that's great. That's very, very great. Look, so the big takeaways. Well, we'll get to the big takeaways because there's one other thing that I'm curious about. I want to get your opinion on this. We'll get into that coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Couple of things I wanted to ask you about after the conversation with the great Armando Salguero. Okay, number one, did you realize it was that close?
Well, there was a lot of talk about with Brady, but I'll tell you what, in the Bay Area, they would be saying it was San Francisco.
There was a lot. I thought at the Combine it was more San Francisco.
It was.
Is what it felt like at the Combine.
So this could have been an under-the-radar thing, and yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. The Sean Payton thing also doesn't surprise me. The thing that I thought was the strangest is that Mike McDaniel would somehow be on like a 1-year trial after what happened with Flores. It just doesn't feel like that's real to me.
No, it feels to me like the page has kind of been turned off of that, and now we're going in another direction because it didn't work out. And Stephen Ross has been ultra active in this pursuit. They were at the 11th hour with Deshaun in the season last year with Watson and the Texans. So they were all in on that. They were in on trying to pursue the Brady thing. And so that was interesting though, of how far along the line that went with Peyton going to Miami with Brady. The other thing that I was curious about is it was my understanding that the Bucs wouldn't release Brady, that they weren't going to let him up because he's still under contract. Like they would have to give him up to go play somewhere else. Right. And that they weren't crazy about doing that. And then remember, all of a sudden, Brady was in Manchester United meeting Cristiano Ronaldo with his kid, and you thought, well, okay, fences have been mended. Yeah. That's how you do that. So the next thing I wanted to ask you is, okay, so they're an elite quarterback away. Who? Is it Brady at 46?
What's crazy to me is I think that they would have been way better off, and Russell Wilson would have been better off had he gone to Miami than gone to Denver.
I agree. I think the division is far easier, and I think the roster's better.
Yeah. And it's Miami.
Yeah. Weather's better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you.
I'm surprised that they weren't
I'd rather
active.
live in Denver, but
they don't have the assets to do that now because they used all their assets to go get Tyreek Hill.
Right. Yeah. So they're basically, they need like a true free agent quarterback.
Yeah, which doesn't
exist. You're never going to get one of those.
Well, and the funny thing is they said
unless Rodgers.
And we were going to get into, if we had Armando the whole time, we would talk about, because it was a great segue off of a point you made the other day, is that yeah, I know Jimmy G's banged up, but the fact of the matter is in the last 2 seasons in which he was healthy, he's played in an NFC Championship game and in a Super Bowl.
I don't understand the slander of him.
And the act that because he's not one of those top 10 guys, but there's
also
something
not
about
the
him.
Other thing either.
He's not.
You know, we
he
talk
should be
about
in his own category.
We talk a lot about the Goff, Wentz. We talk about that with Baker. Like all of those guys that are kind of like good enough that you're not going to go 3-14, but not too good to go 3-14, but not good enough to go 13-4. Right. Garoppolo is good enough to go 13-4. Yeah, he's done it. Like he's actually done it. Like that's the difference, right? And that's the something. Like I don't love when he gets lumped in with those other guys because he's not that. He's more accomplished than that. His issue's been health. Like I'm not out here claiming he's Mahomes or Allen or anything. He's not that. I'm not claiming that. But he's also better than a lot of what he's being compared to.
He is, and he is able to play a very effective and efficient brand of football, and he has also shown the ability to make big throws in big moments. That's the thing about it. So Garoppolo, the last couple of years, 70% completions, basically 69% completions, 47 touchdowns, 25 picks. So he's not going to like light it up in terms of, throwing for, but he throws for 250 yards a game. He's a very solid quarterback. Quarterback rating 102, 98.7 in his last 2 full seasons. He's a very solid player. He is better than that other group. I think he's on the Matt Ryan level, but maybe because he's younger, maybe a little bit better than Matt Ryan at this point, but certainly in that same world. His shoulder is what's prevented him from finding something. Clearly, the Niners thought that they could upgrade on him. But Jimmy Garoppolo's a guy who absolutely can play winning football. He's done it. I mean, he's 19-9 in his last 2 healthy seasons, and he has a 13-3 to your point.
Well, that's why I asked him about it because, like, to me, there's an enormous difference between Tua and Garoppolo.
Huge, I agree, and I think
those are wildly different propositions.
Right, with Garoppolo, anything can happen. Is he gonna? Things could still go well, and he could beat, and as he has beaten. I mean, they beat the Rams to get into the playoffs last year in a game in a shootout. He beat the Bengals in Cincinnati in a shootout where he had to drive the length of the field and produce a touchdown in the cold, and he did it. So he absolutely is capable. And And I think he'd be a great fit, honestly, on that team with their skill set. Is he going to throw the bombs at Tyreek Hill? No, but he's very accurate. He throws such a good ball, an accurate ball, that it provides for a lot of yak. I mean, the Niners, all those guys were leading the league in yak. And all of a sudden you'd think about Waddle's good in that situation. Hill's good in that situation. Cedric Wilson's going to be good in that situation. It feels like it would have made sense for them. I thought it was a good question. But as we said, the league is, do you have the guy? Do you have a young guy that you think can be the guy? And then there's maybe a couple that would be Cousins, Ryan, Garoppolo, Tannehill. Like, okay, everything goes right, we probably can make that run. And then there's the guys that are definitely top 32, but we're not interested.
We don't want you.
Yeah.
You knew Mike a little bit when he was here.
Hey, we talk about like lions. He was a unique guy, very smart.
Like actual lions?
Yeah. But otherworldly.
Like just
smart.
Fascinated by them, or
just fascinated by any? Yeah, I remember that. I'm trying to forget if it was like Gordon or I remember which receiver. Maybe even it was Hawk. Even was talking about how he would sometimes like some of their film sessions. He'd end up like talking about nature and all lions and just that he was like a genius. He was just on another level.
Truly, from an academic standpoint, is the question I asked Armando, because you know him actually probably better than Armando does. This feels like it's on the borderline of a circus. Like it could get that way.
He's not a circus
guy. And the Tua stuff, like in the Peyton looming over and next quarterback.
That I didn't like. I didn't like that for Mike McDaniel. Number one, I didn't like the notion that Peyton is kind of waiting in the wings if he has a bad season. I don't think he's going to. I think he's a very smart coach. And look, it's not like Brian Flores had a bad season the first year when they were not trying to win, and they ended up winning some games. And
which, by the way, they could have just drafted Herbert, and then we're not even.
Then we're not even talking.
Issue.
Then they're probably the favorites.
They are honestly like, and it's the reason you think about them is they're kind of what happens in the NFL next. They're one of those teams that kind of determines if the AFC is going to be even more of a snake pit in the next 5 to 6 years, 3 to 5 years, or if they are just going to have this window where they have everything but, and it's going to close. Like they're in it now. Like they really need the guy now. They can't wait. But I don't know how the heck they're going to acquire it. They don't have assets.
No, you're right. And one of the things we have here, and it's funny to me that they've got, they're not even in the top 22 over the next 3 years, but you plop up Aaron Rodgers. Let's say Aaron Rodgers says, you know what?
Because he can get out of the Green Bay deal after this year, right? Is that right? I think that's right. That he had a player option. It was a 2-year deal, so last year, this year, and then I felt like he had an opt-out to where he could get out with no penalty. But I can't remember if it's after this year or after next. Either way.
He's a perfect guy. You plop him in.
Yeah.
Right.
You put him in there, and they're Super Bowl.
Totally.
Go in the Super Bowl. That's the way it is. You alluded to this. We'll get you the answer on that Rodgers quarterback or contract on the other side of this quick timeout. You mentioned the future rankings, NFL future power rankings. We will get into that coming up next. Let you know where we are, who's at the top of the list. Shouldn't be much of a surprise who's at the top. We'll let you know where we figured out on this one as well. That's coming up next. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Friends at Renew Home Exteriors, who are beautifying and protecting your home. It's their passion. You can upgrade the look of your home, create a high return on investment with new siding from Renew Home Exteriors. Ranging in every architectural style and over 50 colors, reserve $1,500 off and a free insulation wrap, plus 0% interest for qualified buyers. In addition, Renew Home Exteriors will meet or beat competitors' estimates by up to 10% and pay you $100. Beautify your home with premium siding, roofing products at lower prices with Renew Home Exteriors. Visit RenewEstimate.com for more. All right, this is NFL futures. I love this. We did this yesterday with the NFC. We buying stock in. Remember this?
Yeah, love it.
All right, so here we go. So the idea here is, this is from ESPN. These are our guys. These are our smart people. So it's Jeremy Fowler, Lewis Riddick, Seth Walder, and Field Yates. And they're projecting over the next, is it 3 to 5 years, these teams?
Next 3 seasons.
Next 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they rank them in 5 categories: overall roster, quarterback, coaching, draft, front office. So that's the criteria for this thing. So, for example, just to give you an idea of kind of the way that this was going to break down. So the number 1 futures ranking was the Buffalo Bills. So they had the number 1 overall roster minus the quarterback. They had the number 2 quarterback situation in the league with Josh Allen. They had the number 7 coaching situation, the number 6 draft situation, and the number 1 front office situation. This is according to these guys.
What does draft situation mean?
Not sure how they're doing that. Draft score. It must be just how they draft.
Or like the picks that they have going forward?
That could be too.
Because like, are we? Because we're low on that, and I think we've drafted well, but our draft score is 23rd, and I'm guessing, is that because we don't have first-round picks in the next 2 drafts? I don't know.
It must be. Yeah, it must be. Yeah, Kansas City is 2 on this list. Green Bay is tied for 3rd with the Rams.
Kansas City's 1 in draft because they picked up all those picks.
From Tyreek. Yeah. By the way, I'd rather have that. Like them picking all the receiver talent that's going to come in the league.
Man.
And getting them on rookie deals.
Of course.
The next few years.
Yeah.
The Chargers are 5th on that list. The Bengals are 6th on the list. So we come in at 10. The Ravens, incidentally, are 7. So again, a lot of AFC here. So we come in 7 on this list. Our overall roster rank minus the quarterback was 7th in the NFL. Fair.
Okay.
Quarterback was 10.
So they're okay.
Coaching was 14th. Draft 23. So you have to be right.
That's got to be it because we don't have those.
It is. That's for the next 3 years.
Yep.
So it's because you don't have first-round picks. Yeah. And then the front office is 12.
I like our front office.
Yeah.
And our coaching staff. But I think that's, if this was done last year, I bet our coaching was higher because we were, coming off of being the coach of the year.
I don't understand how the front office isn't higher than 12th. There aren't a whole lot of teams who have drafted or signed better than us since AB's been here.
I agree.
And really, the previous regime into AB, we've had pretty good front offices. They've been very different.
Dorsey was great. Very different, but very Dorsey and Zoe and
yeah, they drafted well.
Elliott. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the guys that are here, some of the guys that are here drafted by them and did a nice job. So I'm a little surprised the front office is so low. I think the only reason the quarterback is what it is just this is kind of what I was talking about yesterday, how they had us 15th or whatever in some power ranking because nobody knows what to do with Watson. And that's just so in that sense, like there's in no world to see the 10th best quarterback in the league in his prime.
But I think they're factoring that it's not 100% of him, I'm guessing.
Yeah, again, that's kind of the thing that all of these little rankings have to do going forward.
So here's one that I thought was interesting because we were talking about it and we just hit it on the Dolphins, right? And so the Dolphins are 22nd. Roster overall, they think 15th. I think that's a little low. Quarterback 21st, fine. Coaching, we don't know yet. New coach, I get that. New, I'm guessing, front office with that as well. And then the draft 31 because they don't have the draft capital. But I think they're a team, though, in the next 3 years could be pretty good.
I agree with you on that. I think that's low. I also think, so they've got the Bucs 7 at quarterback. I mean, it feels like they're only promised Brady for next year.
Yeah.
And he is 45. Like, at some point, he has to show his age.
How about Arizona? They have 23rd.
That's what I was just going to say. And they crush them.
Well, they haven't gotten it done. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Cliff. Underachieving. They rank him 29th.
No, the Panthers are 31st. The Panthers are 31st.
Saints, they're pretty high on the Saints at 16. I mean, I'm just mean in considering like where they're Cowboys 20.
20. Yeah.
That doesn't bode well.
I'm surprised the Steelers are at 14, honestly.
Yeah, I don't like their situation that much. I think you're basing a lot on just what's on the side of the helmet.
Going back to the Saints, I feel like the Saints are a year-to-year team right now. Like, their defense is okay, but, like, what is the future of that team?
Their defense is good. Right. Well, it all depends on if Jameis picks up where he left off last year. They've got a reinvigorated receiving core now with Olave and Mike Thomas back. I think the Saints could be pretty good.
I'll tell you what, like, I think one of the most intriguing teams and I think you and I said it at the same time, is Jacksonville. They got Jacksonville 26 on this list. If Doug Peterson can be competent at all, and there's no reason to believe he can't,
Agreed.
he won a Super Bowl.
Yep.
They're gonna draft in a decent spot. They don't have any draft capital problems. Their front office is brutal, like that can be acknowledged. But their quarterback future should be about as good as can be, and the rest of their roster is not terrible.
They have them at 15, which given is they're expecting an ascension, but it's their front office. I think they have 31st, so
32nd,
32nd, so
dead last,
the worst,
dead last in that. But they're one of the more intriguing teams, for me in the whole league, because I feel like that's a winnable spot. They have the Falcons 32. I'll tell you, that's a situation that could flip so quickly.
Oh yeah,
if they get Stroud.
That's why I said I wouldn't mind throwing a few
some shekels on that.
Stroud, maybe Calvin Ridley back.
I think the Bears are worse off than they have them. They have them at 30. I think the Bears are one of the two worst situations in the league.
Yeah.
Carolina 31 is interesting to me too. A little low on the Lions, maybe. They have them at 28. I'm more bullish on them than they are. I have no juice with the Giants. I see.
They have the Vikings way high too. Vikings, I think, were like 19th. Raiders 18th, and then Vikings 19th.
All right, here's what they have to say about us. So this is this goes to that the first line. It's about the Watson stuff.
Correct.
Yep.
And so that's the reason that they're 10th. That's the reason we're 10th. That's the reason the quarterback situation is 10th. Beyond that, the Browns do possess one of the league's best rosters on paper, with a nice blend of homegrown stars and those acquired externally, Wyatt Teller, Amari Cooper, etc. This team is set up to be excellent. That's Field Yates. He said the biggest worry last year, he was worried about the long-term valuation of Baker Mayfield, but his performance in 2021 led the Browns to go in a different direction and acquire Watson. But who knows when we'll see Watson on the field.
There.
Yeah.
On the acquire. Good job.
You like that?
Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett could be leading this offense in the short term. What could change for the better? The Browns can prioritize the passing game.
That's the whole point.
With more help on the outside, with a new quarterback in 2022, they will need reinforcements at wide receiver behind Cooper. Cleveland knows for its run game prowess, attempting 520 passes last year, the 6th lowest total in the NFL. All the teams in this range either don't have a top quarterback or had injuries at the position last year. Tweaking the formula over the next few years will serve Cleveland well. Running back Nick Chubb has recorded at least 0.9 rush yards over expectation per carry in every season of his career per Next Gen Stats. In other words, the Browns have one of the most reliable runners in the league in Nick Chubb. That is what we know. The only reason you're 10 is because of the uncertainty with Watson. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. And we all just want the certainty.
We want certainty. Hopefully we'll get it soon.
Hopefully get an answer on that. Tied with the Niners.
Yeah.
On this list.
Which is a good team. Team we both like.
It's interesting, some of the way that other people view some of these teams on this thing. There are so many teams in the AFC. It's so heavy. So heavy.
Loaded. And not going to change anytime soon. And if one of those older NFC quarterbacks are the ones who decide, hey, I'd like to go down to Miami, it's not going to get any easier.
Is there anybody out there on the receiver market that could come in here?
There are
that
a
you
lot
could
of
add in, like Will Fuller's still out there. Is there anybody
Deshaun
you would
Jackson,
want
Deshaun Jackson
to come in, or do you think we'll go into camp with what we have? But is that something
T.Y.
to
Hilton,
monitor
T.Y. Hilton, Deshaun Jackson
as it goes along?
Will Fuller, that'd be it, I think.
Yeah, could be. All right, very good. Still so much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850.
Tons.
Well, truly, yes.
Literally, this
lots.
time.
Lots. Yeah, you're listening to ESPN Cleveland, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Motorcycle accident caused you injury. Call the injury lawyers at 100 Elk, Ohio for a free case review. Elk and Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. What do you have here from our good buddy Pat Kerwin?
All right, this is from Jared Luganbill brought this to our attention. Thank you, Jared. It's Sirius XM NFL Radio. Moving the chains is breaking down every position group from the starters to the backups to the developmental players for every team in the league. Check out Jim and Pat's top 5 quarterback rooms. Okay, so this is the whole deal. Do you want me to go 5 to 1?
Yeah.
Okay. Coming in at number 5 for Pat Kerwin, the Green Bay Packers.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love.
Rodgers and Love.
Coming in at number 5 for Jim Miller,
Okay.
the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay. I think at this point, then now I'm out. I mean, you're done. You've lost me.
How in
There's
the
not
world?
a scenario where they're in the top 25 in quarterback room.
Mitch Trubisky,
Has he been talking to Cody?
Kenny
Benjamin?
Pickett, and Mason Rudolph is the 5th best quarterback room in the league.
Did he play there? He must
he
have.
played
Played
for
for the
Chicago.
Bears.
I know he played for the Bears, but did he play there too at some point as like
No.
a backup?
All right, hold on.
Is he
We'll go
from
on.
Pittsburgh? Good God.
Pat Kerwin, number 4, the Bucks.
Okay.
Jim Miller, number 4, the Chiefs.
Okay.
Pat Kerwin, number 3, the Chiefs.
Okay.
Jim Miller, number 3, the Bucks.
Okay.
Unanimous, number 2. I'll give you 3 guesses.
Bills.
No.
Chargers.
No.
Bengals?
Bengals.
No. Number 2, unanimous. The Indianapolis Colts tandem of Matt Ryan and Nick Foles. Number 1, the Bills. So the Super Bowl champion and the Rams not listed. Joe Burrow not listed. Justin Herbert not listed. But the Steelers are, and the Colts are consensus number 2
So
quarterback.
the Bills
room.
are the consensus number 1?
The Bills are consensus number 1.
By the way,
Wait.
Hold on. Here's the best part about it. So these are based on total quarterback rooms, right?
This is such the stupidest thing ever. Like, if it's not weighted for starter versus backup, then it's just a waste of time.
Yeah, but, so Josh Allen, and then we loved our guy Case Keenum. He was here, and they have Matt Barkley. Like Case Keenum and Matt Barkley.
So they're
are pushing.
They're giving Barkley and Keenum the same amount. You're giving the second and third string quarterbacks in every room the same amount of weight as the starter.
Apparently not, though, because there is not a system that you could
That's
create
how
in the
Pittsburgh
world
could get to 5.
How?
If you are living in some dream world
That Mason
where
Rudolph's good?
Mason Rudolph is the best third string quarterback in the NFL, that's the only scenario.
Okay, but you still have the worst
Agreed. You have
starter
the worst
and the worst
starter.
second.
Well, and your backup could be, if it's Trubisky, you could say, well, Trubisky's okay.
Jim Miller, by the way, 6th round pick, 94. The Pukers.
I knew it.
94 through 96.
You don't do that unless there's a tie. You don't do that unless it's some tie to the area. It had to be. There's no other way that Jim Miller would do. You don't do that. It's stupid. You don't do that. By the way, if you're going to do quarterback rooms, and like 80% of the room is the starter and 20% of the other 2 positions combined, that's the way you do a quarterback room.
I just don't.
Quarterbacks don't even get hurt anymore.
I don't even understand. But help me understand the Colts.
I can't. Well, I just told you how the only way it makes sense is how I'm saying it. That the first, second, and third string quarterbacks are 33% each of 100%, and so what they're saying is Matt Ryan is a 15 middle of the road starter. Foles is the best backup, and then whoever their third string guy is probably Eason. Might be Jacob Eason.
Sam Erlinger.
Sam Ellinger from Texas. Okay, so
Yeah.
Ellinger. So then they think that he has some sort of future. That's it. That's how they're doing it. But it's the
still
stupidest
nuts.
way to ever do it. There's not anybody in the league that would trade the Packers, the Chiefs. The idea that the Chargers and Burrow aren't on this
Yeah,
is laughable, man. Laughable.
we should be on it.
Well, of course.
Yeah, they've got
If you're doing
Herbert.
quarterback duos,
They've got Herbert and Chase Daniel, who's been in the league for 1,000
You've got to
years.
do it weighted.
And a guy named Easton Stick.
That's a great
there we
name.
go.
Yeah, 5th round pick in 19.
He's going to be on Yellowstone this fall.
I'm going to tell you right now, Easton Stick. There weren't a whole lot of blue collar jobs growing up.
He's a ranch hand.
Easton Stick.
I mean, that's just a stunning list. I feel like I've got to click on this and see what maybe they just didn't even allow mentions. 'cause
Where
it
was
so
Easton?
wild.
Where did he play?
No clue. And I know that stuff. I don't have any idea who that
See,
guy
the
is.
receiver rooms make some sense to me. The receiver rooms, they've got the Vikings, Bengals, Dolphins, Raiders, and Buccaneers. They have the same 5 on both sides. That all makes sense to me. Justin Jefferson and Thielen, Chase Higgins and Boyd, Waddle, Wilson and Tyreek Hill, Evans and Godwin,
Easton Stick playing
Devontae
in your
Adams, Hunter
backyard.
Renfro.
North Dakota State.
Okay, so just to give you an idea of how big the West is, so if I were to drive from where I grew up to, I believe that's in Fargo. I believe they play in Fargo, North Dakota State. Yeah, the Fargo. That's probably you're looking at. My guess is you're looking at least a 12-hour drive. I'm saying you're looking at least a 12-hour drive from where I grow up to
Longer
to
on the
Fargo.
cattle drives.
Yeah, let me just see. So, like, I always think it's funny, and I'm not doing this to pick on you, Gibbe. When people go, "Oh yeah, you're from," I mean, you got to be. You're close to Jackson. That's close to you, Jackson Hole. Yeah, miles from where I grew up to Fargo, North Dakota. Can I interest you in 792? 11 hours.
I would have
and
taken the
49
under,
minutes.
and I would have been wrong. Guess the
11
stats would have been
hours, 49 minutes. They go, "Oh yeah, I saw so and so is going to Jackson Hole. Do you want to? You know, that's near where you grew up, isn't it? Oh yeah.
In 9 hours on the East Coast, I feel like
2
you can
minutes,
get through
2 minutes.
6 states.
In this is 11 and a half to go from there to Fargo. You could drive to. Can you drive to Miami from? No, at least past Atlanta. You could drive from here to Tampa in 11 hours, couldn't you?
I don't think so.
It's got to be close.
Ah.
Jackson Hole is 400 miles from where I grew up.
Hey guys,
You can drive to Massachusetts. You can drive to Cape Cod. What do you all?
You don't think I
Okay.
can get 11 hours to Tampa?
I want you both really
15,
quickly.
a little further.
Do we have just really quickly look at what I just retweeted?
Okay. I don't follow you on social, so why don't you just read it to me? Why
Says
don't you just
all
tell
the
me?
worry warts who laughed off all the people who laughed off the worry warts years ago freaking about those funny dancing robotic dogs should be forced to watch this video once a day for the remainder of the year. It is a robotic
Whoa.
dog patrolling a border with a gun mounted to its head that it can shoot.
That's not right.
And I am terrified.
I'm
That's
watching
not
it
real.
right now.
That's not real. Where's this at? Who's monitoring this? Whose dogs? Who paid for them? What border?
It's not. I don't think it's actually. I think it's a simulated border would be my guess. But
1
are you
minute, 1
watching
minute.
this?
I'm watching
All right,
it.
you pulled it up. Oh my God!
Yeah. This thing's just
Could you
firing
imagine
up-
like
that looks
1,000?
Like an M16.
Why couldn't there be a million of those things? Then what are we gonna do?
Well, to be fair, we're not really great with these things either.
I don't know,
Just to
but the
be
way
fair.
that thing moves is creepy. Everything about that is creepy.
Oh my
I
God,
am
that's terrifying.
horrified. Forget birds, dude. This is a better fear.
Yeah, I still think the bird thing.
This
is
thing,
a
you have
factor.
100 of these things. Those birds are just a bunch of feathers falling to the ground, brother.
Next level's next. We'll see you tomorrow. Cleveland Browns Daily 8:50.
Maybe.
Cleveland.